Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Your please rise and we'll have our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Munson.
Amber Benson. Here. Katrina Binkowitz.
Here.
Doug Day.
Here.
Joseph Wetmore.
Here.
Edward Levine.
Here. At this time, I'd like to move into executive session, which is on our agenda at the start. And this actually will, let's find the right one here. This pertains to the medical financial credit or employment history of a particular person / corp, or matters leading to said dismissal, removal, promotion, appointment, employment, discipline, demotion, or suspension. I can make a motion to move into executive session under those terms.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Mrs. Munson?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There is, everyone can stay here. We actually are going to move to a room over in the rec department. You have that set up for us.
Actually, I wasn't to include anybody that we're adding to the board, who are we adding that?
We've never said who went to executive session.
Who goes into executive session?
We've never said who it was. If any extra people want, we've never said who it was.
Are we supposed to tell the public who are going to be in executive session with us?
I certainly can look, but if anyone wants to be invited, they would be invited, and it would be on the record regardless of whether it's part of the motion or not. But,
Okay.
I mean, if someone's supposed to be there, they're supposed to be there. So, am I supposed to be there?
Yes.
Just
Is
ask.
there other people we should verbally invite now?
Sure.
Great. Linda can join us also. I don't think this is the most.
That's fine.
Not weekly vote.
I know, right?
Going to wait for Mrs. Munson to come back here. You can do that in a moment. I want to make sure she's ready to. You can go ahead and do that. We're going to come out of executive session. Joe has made a motion to go out of executive session. Do we have a second? I'll second. Okay, no discussion. So it's Joe and Katrina seconded. No, excuse me, Doug seconded. I don't know how I did that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The next we have, is Patrick here tonight? Patrick Jordan?
Yes, no. Oh. Is that the other one? Sorry. No.
Well, he was going to come back. Do we have, there have been no more emails, I don't think, about this audit. Are we comfortable moving forward and accepting it?
Yeah. I wasn't to.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
No.
Buzzing there pretty fast there, KB. Okay,
Okay, Joe moved it.
and,
Seconded?
no, Andre.
Jensen?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Dave?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Okay, next item is the Carl Colbert's property discussion. Carl, if you feel comfortable, you can come up here or you can sit there, whatever you're comfortable with. This is something that when we had our meeting at the village and we did not agree, I think that's when Katrina may not have been at that meeting. Or maybe it was on, there's only 4 of us at that meeting. And of the 5 changes that were proposed, we had a concern about this one, so we couldn't come to agreement. So we tabled that matter, and I think we need to start to bring it up now, and get some information here as far as this whole discussion on where we're going to go with this property. And as you know, at one time it was zoned commercial, and then for some reason it got put in the lake. I asked Tommy what else was one of the ones there, and he had a hard time remembering why it was put on the lake. He was just on the board. It's been lake ever since. And yet, when we look at our new proposed zoning, it looks very similar to the old zoning. Yeah, so sometimes these things go 360. So I want to have some discussion tonight while Carl is here, because it's going to affect him personally. Where we want to go with this, because if we change this into one area, is Lynn still here? Lynn's gone. Okay.
He might be in his office. Do you want me to see?
Would you please? Thank you. Okay. Since Michael's not here, tonight he had a previous engagement, because this was an unusual week. I'd like to get some feedback from either Al or is anyone else on the planning board here? Tom's here? Good. The input also from them as far as what the proposals are for this. It'll be rare. Okay.
Thank you.
So in the meantime, while we're waiting for Lynn, I just want to make this recommendation when we talk about our schedules next year for Thanksgiving month. We may want to, because we put a tremendous amount of pressure on Deb Munson, who's been just a yo person about this, and just 2 in a row is a little bit, perhaps, and of course the vouchers and everything else. I mean, you desensitized to this, right? You were here to when last night?
7:30.
Yeah. That we maybe push the second meeting to the end of the month, if the calendar follows that. But I'm simply saying, let's investigate that so we don't put too much pressure on our staff.
I think 2 in a row is hard on everybody.
I agree.
And maybe it's only 1 for November.
Would you record that,
Yes.
please?
We
Okay,
Yes.
we got that. We got 1 less a month. I think we're making progress here. Okay. All right. So, Lynn, as you probably know, we're talking about Mr. Colbert's property.
Yeah.
And some feedback here as far as, at one time it was commercial. I think everyone has their maps with all their colors on it. And then it went to lake. And one of the discussions is, what do we do with it now? Al, do you want to do some feedback on this? Give us some opinion, or Lynn, or Tom, or somebody?
Well, I think start asking Carl.
I think that would be fine too. Go ahead. I mean,
Well, I just feel like we should, right or wrong, it was done like 15 years ago. I don't see any reason why it's not commercially zoned. It's always been commercial. It was a repair shop built back in 1961. You know, and it's drastically, in my opinion, dropped the value of it. You know, as I'm getting up in years, I'm thinking about what to do the rest of my life. And when I go to pass it on, if it's lakeshore zoned, it's certainly not worth what it would be as commercial property for anybody. And if something was to happen to me and I couldn't operate that place for a year, being lakeshore zoned, it would never be a garage again.
and then the value of your property would decrease.
Yeah, I believe so. There's not much you can do with restrictions on lakeshore as far as what I see happening on that corner.
So some of the
I mean, it's a great corner, you know, I mean, you know, I put 2 cars out there for sale and we're sold 1 in 2 days. I've got to buy my so I mean, it's a good corner. There's a lot of traffic. it's definitely not Lakeshore.
And there is a garage across the street.
And there is a garage across the street that's 3 times the size.
Right.
You mean the school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, visually, it's consistent with its neighbors.
Just a downside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some information.
Yeah.
There's a petition that went around, you can see it from your neighbors down Myers Road. And this petition says, we as residents of Myers Road are writing to you to voice our complete support for Carl Kohlberg and his request to have the zoning change to B1 to reflect the uses of his property. That property has been continuously operated as a business since at least 1961. It seems only fair to allow him to operate with appropriate zoning. We hope that you will support Carl's request. You all can see that, and I'll pass that around. The other thing, I'm glad Patrick's here, is that we're now talking about a crossing guard there.
Yes.
This is something that Mike Sigley, he's not here tonight, he had to have another matter, but he has secured some money for that from our state senator, Pam Helmy. And Patrick can attest, and this is to your email the other day about the crossing guard increase, is that in the past we used to prorate as far as what the cost would be if you went and did a crossing guard. I've done it myself. I didn't charge anybody, I don't expect to. But in the past, if it was prorated for 15 minutes, you got 1/4 of an hour. And we couldn't find anybody for those things. And so what we did is we had to have volunteers from the town. Well, what happened is that we went and we said we need to bump it up. So we bumped it up to $15 per cross. And sometimes in the morning, it may be there more than 15, and it might be 10 degrees, or it might be like a day. Okay? So having said that, we are working with the school to come up with a proposal for a crossing guard across that road. So there's a concern about that because people were concerned about kids going across.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
The crosswalk's on the wrong side of the intersection. It used to be on the opposite side. And it's a lot easier to see if you're coming from the school, crossing the road on the left side, facing my shop, than it is where it is now on the right side. And I think when I was talking to one of the state guys about the bridge and stuff, they were talking about putting a light in when the bridge was done and moving that crosswalk. I know how dangerous that is out there. I was the one last year carrying a cone out there at 2:30 every day. And I got run over several times and I got dragged up the road. So I don't see how that has anything to do with me though.
It does, and unfortunately you seem to be...
I'm there all the time, I see everything.
Yeah.
And I have seen everything.
Well, they made progress. They used to be, as you know, 55 miles an hour through there.
Yes,
And then they chopped it down to 35 with a flashing light, and I can see eventually this being a stoplight there. Because that'll be a very slow zone. We're going to have slow zones throughout this town because we have a lot more people.
And I'll tell you, the people that come down to the park from the other Myers Road and come up that way, who've never been up that road, they can't see that stop sign. A lot of them fly right through there, towing boats, jet skis, you name it.
Yep.
It really needs a flashing red light there.
Which I would be in favor of.
Yeah.
So having said that, in fact, it sounds like, for lack of a better phrase, you're guilty by association when it's like you're just trying to run a business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't hinder or cause any obstruction when schools, people are going to or coming out of school. If anything, I help them.
So hypothetically, let's say if someone wants to put a gas station in there, they have to go through a phase 1 and a phase 2 because of the...
That's what I mean. They just can't, just because it's zoned, right, say B1, doesn't mean somebody can come put a gas station. It still has to go through the planning board, the town board, public meeting, right?
Right, Tom? Right, Al?
Well, the feedback that we've received as far as the planning board is that I don't think the concern is the existing use, it's the potential of a change in use that would be incompatible with the school. And my opinion is that that's why we have a zoning board or a planning board, is that any change in use would have to go before these boards, and you have to rely on the boards to say, wait a minute, this is not a compatible use, and hold up that use or stymie that use. So it's that unknown out there, and again, that unknown is probably not a probable change. The highest and best use of that is probably a repair shop. just what it is today and what it will be in the future. And I doubt you'd see any use change that would not be compatible with the school as a probable use.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just brainstorming here, but it seemed like you would do something that would be associated with boating, parks, something along those lines that could do commercial.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, it's a great corner for Dunkin' Donuts, truthfully, because then the whole school would go over there and eat. So, I mean, my perspective is I have no problem with it being a garage. I think tonight we should give him our letter of guarantee that if something were to happen to him, it would still be a garage. I understand the zoning is still being worked on, and that there might be some needs for it to be contiguous with the other business zones, but I think an error was made, and we should give him a formal commitment to being the garage as we go
I
forward.
think this is all part of my plan, my life's plan I've been working on since I got out of school. And now somebody's throwing a very big monkey wrench in it.
Yeah.
So,
But the other thing we talked about is, can there be some limitations as to really not having a high traffic there, because it's already a traffic problem because of the schools and the church and the park. So high traffic, what does high traffic mean? A McDonald's, you know,
is
fast
there any
food?
higher traffic though, Katrina, than any other school zone, say for, like, example, Moravia or Groton? I mean, there's a garage right across the street from
No,
Moravia
the garage is fine. There's no problem with the garage.
and a bank.
Right?
What
That's
Katrina's
high
saying
traffic.
is we don't want it to become a high traffic.
No, I know what you're saying.
And so if our zoning allows for, say, a fast food restaurant, even if it goes to the planning board, wouldn't you have to figure out how to make that work if it was part of the zone?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, we would look at it, but I think, you know, again, it's not going to be a fast food place. All these chains have standards. They look at traffic count, they look at all sorts of things, and that lot would not be a desirable lot for a chain, whether it's fast food or a donut shop or whatever it may be. It wouldn't go there.
I'm just looking into the future.
Yes,
So
and
the
I'm
zoning
saying
is good at.
Probably,
Right.
you look at a probable use, and I'm saying based on their standards that these national corporations have, that site doesn't meet their standards. Ingress, egress, all that, it just wouldn't fit. It would probably be a mom and pop association that would take over that lot in the future, in my opinion. That's
Well,
crazy.
If you really want to go high traffic, go there at 7 o'clock in the morning. You can see how many people don't use the bus and use their cars.
But
And
that's-
you'll get an illuminating vision.
That is high traffic.
Right.
And try to do a cross guarding there, and hopefully you don't get run over with your bright suit on and everything. I mean, simply, I'm telling you, these are all noble ideas, what we're trying to do, but the hard work is trying to implement them. And like I said, I really wonder, I would love to have a survey of how many kids do not use the bus. And you go down through there at 6, ask Tommy Ellis, or you go up at 7 o'clock, you're down by Cargo trying to get up through by Rose Harbor.
Yeah, I see it every day.
So when we say high traffic, I understand what you're saying, Katrina, but that may already be here, that might be just unavoidable. I don't think you're going to draw more people down there because of that.
But you could have more stops and starts at an intersection that's already very stressed.
It is, and I'm sure if that light does come, you're going to have it. Just like when the light comes in up here by Extra Mart, you're going to have stresses up there. But that's not, you didn't do that.
I didn't do that. I bought this as a commercial piece of property and hoping to be able to sell it as such when I'm ready to back out of there. So it's kind of, that's my problem.
Well, anybody else have any comments or questions?
I know we've asked Carl, is there anyone else who came here to talk about this, seeing it on the agenda, out in the audience?
I signed up for privilege of the floor.
Why don't we just use this as a segue?
Okay.
I mean, since we're having this discussion and it's going to involve him, so Melanie Malone?
Yes.
No, Commander?
I live up at Myers Heights Road, which is about
Okay.
5 miles from the shop.
Yep.
And I moved here already zoned Lake Shore 1. And when 341 Ridge Road was already zoned Lake Shore 1, and it's been zoned Lake Shore 1 for 15 years, about, right?
Hey, Melanie,
So,
could you use the microphone?
I just kind of,
You
not
gotta get it
really
really
close.
close to you or it doesn't work.
So, I understand that there's a petition that some people have signed, and I can't speak for them. They may not have a full understanding of the permitted uses in the B1 zoning. But I prepared a short, the 3-minute time limit statement, so I can just, and it's nothing personal. I respect the hard work that you've done all these years. So I respect now, as I did then when I originally moved here, that the use of the lot as a repair shop is a grandfathered use. And at its current grandfathered use, 341 Ridge Road is an unobtrusive, limited use. It is very little noise, there's minimal traffic from his business. It's locally owned, causes no disruption to the neighborhood. The surrounding area includes residential, recreational, and institutional uses. The school bus garage is an institutional use. It's part of the school district, it's not a commercial use. There are no B1 parcels or B1 zones near this parcel, as it is right now, in the part of the 2003 zoning map. So the lot is uniquely situated, which is not Mr. Kohlenberg's, responsibility, but it is located on the Cayuga Lake Scenic Byway, which is, as you know, recognized as a natural asset and established tourist attraction. The lot is 1 mile, less than 1 mile from Myers Park, Salmon Creek Fishing Area, and Salt Point. And Tompkins County Scenic Resources lists 3 locations nearby that are distinctive and characteristic views. So there is value in this area for Lansing. And also, as you already said, it's in a school zone. So the non-commercial character of the area was one of the reasons that I chose to live there. And it's one of the reasons why the area has become a focal point for the community, as far as Myers Park and all that, which you have to pass his lot to get there if you're going down Myers Road that way. So, as far as the B1, there are numerous uses permitted in B1 zoning, and most of the uses are not suitable at this location. A drive-through restaurant, a laundromat, a gas station, a vaping lounge. Ithaca now has a CBD cannabis oil shop located there. I believe that would be, it's a retail sales. That would be probably a permitted use within B1 zoning. So the point is, once zone B1, any permitted use would be allowed, not only the ones that we deem desirable. So I'm asking the town board to enact your authority in regulating the zoning in this area so that the impact on the community is also given some recognition. Putting a more intensive use at 341 Ridge Road would prove detrimental. I think it would degrade the character of the surrounding neighborhood and negatively affects the daily life of some of the nearby neighbors if there was a higher intensity B1 use at Mr. Kohlenberg's property. And as you already know, Route 34 is a state road, so the town has no jurisdiction in any traffic control measures or safety measures there. So those are basically what I was going to speak of at the privilege of the floor.
No, I think it's a perfect time. Thank you.
Yeah.
To continue this conversation, I can see your, thank you, I can see your concerns if this were not in a heavy traffic area already, or because you had the school, because you had fishermen, because you're doing use of the park already. I don't think and there are certain perhaps undesirable things that you don't want in your area, and that's why we do have zoning, but to have a business there, the traffic is already there. It's not like there's a neighborhood, small example, Hillcrest. Put a gas station there. There's a concern that you have more traffic there, and I understand. That's why I reached out to Jack Young, who said he wasn't putting anything there. I understand that. But in this case, talk about pre-existing condition. You already have the traffic there. If you put nothing there, even as a vacant lot, you're still going to have heavy traffic because of all the other things that are growing around it. He is in the middle of all these different things that are a destination. And that destination is not going to change. That's what the concern I have. Now, when this bridge closes, is that the way it's going to be in 10 years? You're going to have traffic flying through there all the time? I don't think so, because it's also somewhat sporadic. And to have that as a destination, I don't think whatever business you put there is going to draw out to that place any more, or a small percent more than what you have there already. You're not going to decrease the traffic. And if you're concerned about heavy traffic, it's already there. I mean, if you want to go ahead and put something on Myers Road and track it, I mean, just during fishing season, go in April and watch all the boats go up and down. I mean, Patrick can attest to this, I'm sure. You know, just look at all the different pavilions and everything else that are being used, and the campers, and everything else. And the thing is that most of them do not go, I don't think, on the Myers Heights way. They usually go up your way. So you're already pre-existing, and once again, the thing about the zoning, you want to have a discussion about what to have not there. But as far as heavy traffic goes, the traffic's already there. And that's what concerns me. You're not gonna eliminate. And the other thing is that whatever you do there, unless you make that a special zone by itself, which now you're doing spot zoning, is that you got to
pocket zoning.
Well, spot zoning is where you have a special area and make a consideration just for that one spot. But if you have, for instance, any of the other commercial areas, will they also apply? Are you going to have a different category for that? I mean, these are all great discussions we have now, and I think we're going to have a further discussion on this, but we want to get your input on it also, because you're the one that's going to be affected by this.
Doesn't seem to matter. I know what my input is.
What have we made of the PDA?
Not with acreage.
Okay.
What if we make the zone that is just within a distance from the school? That would restrict uses like a vape, a vaping store or things like that. Then it would apply to the properties across the street up towards the church, and the back properties, right?
You could almost make that one zone all the way up to the cargo entrance if you want to.
Right.
Because you're in the
I mean, I think all that property has the same.
There is in the land use map, there's a suggestion that zone between the cargo will become some kind of housing. I forget what the term is, but it's a different kind of housing. It's not a current map.
I mean, 'cause you have-
Let's flip back and forth. There's a lot of back and forth on that. So I guess my question to you guys is, what are you trying to accomplish here? Are you trying to help us pull her out?
I'm trying to tie up the loose end because he was one of 5 different discussions. And we've addressed 4 of them.
And we didn't really talk.
We didn't really talk about it. Because this one is a little spicier, shall we say? And the other 4, I think we agreed on because of the concept. But I really think that what we're trying to accomplish tonight is once again, the fact is that the reality is, it is heavy traffic already. So what are you trying to accomplish? If you're trying to prohibit certain things there, like what, vapor stores where you're trying? I totally agree. I mean, there's certain things, absolutely, you want to allow it as a business.
There's 2 pieces to this. One is ensuring his right to proceed as he is with related industry, right?
He's allowed to do that anyway, as long as he owns it.
I know, but if,
He could sell that right too. He could sell it to me and I could maintain the repair shop thing just as he's doing it now. That's a transferable risk.
so I want to ensure,
If it's unregistered for a year or more, it can't be a repair shop again, it's like.
and that's what I would like to deal with tonight in some way, shape, or
Like,
form.
it is, it's not lakeshore property. You gotta change the zoning somehow.
I got that.
Well, but there's going to be a process anyway. We won't be able to do anything tonight because we're still going to have to go through a public hearing.
Well, we can have a consensus.
And
Yeah,
but
but your statement that if we made that piece of property something separate as spot zoning is actually not the way I understand spot zoning. Spot zoning is when you do something for the individual owner as opposed to the community interest. You can take a piece of parcel and say, the community has an interest in having it this way. And if you're doing it based on your comprehensive plan and the entire community's need, you can take one parcel and make it its own kind of zone.
well, spot zoning to me has a negative connotation to it. It seems to be doing like a favor for that one individual. And that,
Well, we're going to make sure it's legal.
and that is the
that it's
connotation
used.
people have with spot zoning. It isn't a positive. It's a negative.
Right.
So, once again, we can talk about semantics all night. That's not what I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is how do we go forward with Mr. Kohlenberg and have a good discussion about this and see what we can and cannot do, because the bigger picture is that unless you do something in that area, it's going to affect other areas. So there's a wider discussion on this as far as that goes. Do you roll it right back into an existing commercial? I don't know.
Or we take that intersection and say that intersection is a key intersection for several reasons. The entrance to Myers Park, the entrance to the school, and that is not the same as every other intersection up and down that road. And we take the properties that are along that intersection and say we want to create a zone for this intersection that has its own set of rules, because there's some things we don't want at that intersection. I don't think we want a bait shop at that intersection, but we don't necessarily want to ban from all of our commercial areas either.
You saying a bait shop?
I thought you said.
Oh, bait, I'm sorry.
Bait shop would be fine.
Yes, thank you. Bear wouldn't like that, but I
He's okay,
understand.
he is not.
That big, and I totally agree with that. But on the other hand, is it that central area, or is it that corridor all the way up to?
Well, I think that's where we need to sit down.
Because you got two churches involved,
There
and
are
the
some
school,
properties that are right
and...
up about opposite.
No, that's where we have to sit down
Yeah.
and figure out how do we work that area. And
But
say,
here's what the rub is that to do that, and yet do not have Mr. Kohlenberg lose value on his property, because then he can come back and sue, because you lost property, but we changed your zoning.
no, that's not true.
Yeah. Is it called a taking when you change zoning, you lose your value guy? Am I missing something here?
It can be, but generally not. The taking would be you do it for improper purposes or illegally, or you impose an unlawful condition that doesn't meet the U.S. Supreme Court tests of proportionality and police power limits that you have.
So let's take it to one more level then. Which is,
If you were to do something like prohibit all single-family homes throughout the entire town, yeah, you'd have a bunch of takings.
Well, so let's just have this conversation one more level, which is that what message do we send to our citizens to say where you are now, your zone may change?
You can go through an Article 78. I mean, there's legal processes for people to go through when their zoning changes and they don't agree with it.
Well, do we want to have to drag our citizens through that type of thing when we can reach a regional agreement which keeps its value? I would rather be on a positive note there than to say that we should change this zoning where you have the potential to lose value. I get very concerned about that.
I would suggest, Ed, that if you focus on keeping his value, you are hitting spot zoning. If you talk about community needs, you're not hitting spot zoning. The more you talk about maintaining his value and these changes, the more you're getting into the realm of spot zoning. You're doing it for individual property owners' needs as opposed to the community.
I'd rather have
This
a
is
wider
a
lens.
business that's been there for 20, 40 years.
I understand, and I'm trying to keep Ed from making our change challengeable by somebody in court.
I don't think it will, because if we widen our lens to have the improvement, I think you're at 6, I'm at a half dozen.
I'm just saying, speaking community needs and not in Carl's needs and this kind of change.
Well, I think you can have both. I think you can have both. And that's what we're shooting for, is to have both, to enhance it. Would that be the proper language so people are comfortable as we nitpick our words here? Because at the end of the day, you have to look at a citizen and say, geez, am I happy with this situation or not? Because the bottom line is, you sell it to another garage, here we go.
I think there's another piece, which is the timeliness of moving forward. Am I correct? I mean, a year of more planning board discussion and town board discussion is not a comfortable concept.
It's not. I've been trying to get this
So
wrong right.
I would like
for
to make it
15
a
years.
priority to
Well,
think about that
How about
zone.
this, why don't we set up a subcommittee of people to sit down, a couple planning board members, I'll sit on that committee, and work out what to do for that area.
Well, nothing personal, but we have a planning board doing that already, don't we, Al?
Yeah, but the planning board's looking at the whole thing, and I'm saying, let's just pull a group together to deal with this corner right now.
And come to a solution soon.
Come to a solution for this corner.
The planning board did look at this twice and make a very specific recommendation about it. And your zoning says that zoning changes get referred to the planning board. So the planning board made its recommendations, the town board didn't discuss it and didn't follow through with it. Now the discussion is starting, and if the discussion is we're going to refer it back to the planning board, I don't know that your decision would change, but it might. You could review it again, I guess.
Well, we're talking about potentially even another,
Well, to the guy's point, if we're not going to take
an overlay district.
If we're not going to take the planning board's recommendations, why are we having these conversations? Why do we have a planning board?
well, it's our job not to rubber stamp everything too.
Well, I don't think we are.
But
What I'm saying is that I give the recommendations very serious consideration,
yes.
and they carry weight. So we could revisit this or visit this perhaps at our next meetings in December and look at the planning board's recommendations. And if Tom or Larry or anybody else from the planning board want to come and discuss it, I think it'd be appropriate because they have a lot of experience. Do we feel comfortable with that?
I think that's going to slide it along. I think what we need to do is we need to look at that corner and create a zone that deals with the uniqueness of that corner. And
So-
I said to the planning board and say, hey, can we put together,
We're not sending it to them, we already got a determination from them, right?
we've gotten a recommendation from us.
And we decided not to move on it.
So we can also send it back and say, hey, can you kick something around? I think that might be a way of moving this forward. At least it would be a way that would come to a solution I would be more comfortable with.
Okay, how about the rest of the board? I mean, the fact that the planning board, if you want to send it back to the planning board for a recommendation, and then come back to our board, I don't know, it sounds like we're chasing our tail here in a way. If the planning board, we can look at this, like I said, it doesn't have to be done tonight, but we can look at this perhaps in a timely fashion and get a decision in perhaps the next 6 months or 3 months to move forward. How does the rest of the board feel about this? How they feel about the planning board's recommendations?
Well, another potential recommendation is to revert this back to the previous zoning because an error was made, and then look at his site and the other areas that are right next to the school as part of an adjusted zoning.
I like that.
Well, then that goes right back to what we didn't do 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Right.
I'm most comfortable with that.
You comfortable
Look
with
at
it?
that corner, but also what is across from the school. Because to keep it consistent.
So Katrina's recommendation is to revert it back to
Whatever else,
commercial.
back to what it was in '99.
And know that we will be talking about your property plus some others that are in a similar area.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Does make sense.
Makes sense to me.
It buys us some time to do the whole, whatever that category is.
And then you're not stuck while everybody's chewing on this
I'm just worried
specification.
about opening up the B1 at this point and having the possibility of something like a vape shop coming in there while we're working out the details.
Well, yeah,
I don't plan on going anywhere real soon.
I understand
you want
that.
his word that he's not going to sell to a vape shop? Is that okay? I mean,
Things change,
well,
things change.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing is that if it's commercial, I think it gives us time to discuss this and we've taken the recommendation of the planning board. And once again, our zoning is not complete yet. I think look at the bigger picture from that and have a serious discussion with compromises. I think that's good. In the meantime, we addressed a wrong, in my opinion, which should have been back to commercial.
Right.
I agree with it. I agree with Katrina's recommendation,
Okay.
like I did before. Sorry.
So what's the next, we have a consensus here, what's the next step then to move this thing forward and switch it back to commercial? Guy, I need you guys on this.
You need a local law to amend the zoning.
That's something we need to have a public hearing on all our situations.
Environmental review,
Secret. Okay. Can we put that on our next agenda in December? Let's see, we have our working meeting first, we can discuss it then, in more detail. But I think then perhaps at our second meeting in December, if we set the public hearing in our first meeting in December, we can have the public hearing in the second. Of this year, be the 3rd and the 17th. December 3rd is our first meeting, and December 17th is our second. If I'm wrong, please fight.
I'm not positive. I thought it was the 5th, but you're at least very close to the dates.
think it's the 5th.
I have December 5th, you're right. December 5th would be our working meeting, December 19th would be our regular meeting, so we can discuss at the 5th, set the public hearing for the 19th. And then we can go at it from there, and I'd love to hear once we get this thing behind us, I'd love to hear vape shops. I need more about that. Is that a Commons thing, or is that a?
They're all over the shop.
Thank you, I'm sorry, not vape shops, vape shops.
There's no
And,
weed shops on the top.
and go from there and have a serious discussion how we want to address this, because I think we have a tremendous opportunity for that whole area. And you're absolutely right, the whole area up to Cargill, like I said, the 2 churches there, and you also have an apartment building there right now, and you have a school there.
And it's all in the high traffic area.
It's all high traffic. In the meantime, I will call our state senator and DOT to see if they have a light plan.
I would love to see a light there.
That would
Especially
be,
hearing the horror stories that you were describing, those
Yeah.
cars plowing through there.
in the, I want to say the old days, I don't think I'm that old, I guess I am, Carl, sorry. But in the old days, down Myers Road was 55 miles an hour. And you didn't go to the park, you went to Lagoga Park, and if you crossed the tracks in one piece, you had a good day. If not, I mean, you remember those days, and the sad reality
I
is,
think the mechanic shop's up
yes. Rob, you go down and tell me back up. I think there's 4 pieces over there and 2 over. The same thing with the school. Those tractor trailers just come roaring down that. I mean, you talk about now we're worried about getting across there. 55 miles an hour. And of course, back then we had to.
Okay, I'm going to tell a really quick story.
Please, why not?
This happened in 1994. Speed limit was 55 miles an hour in front of the school. Last day of school. And I had 2 sons who were seniors, last day of school. And they went up to drop a friend who was the son of the Methodist minister.
The correction?
They came down in front of the school to come home. A tractor trailer came out of the middle school road and stalled. And they came around the curve, and to this day, I still come around the curve to see if I can see. You cannot see it. You just can't. And so they came around the curve. They were going 45 miles an hour, but it was 55. And a tractor trailer was stalled right there, and they went under the truck.
Under the trailer park.
The tractor trailer. Went under.
Right, under the big park, yeah.
Yes. And what saved their lives, because they were going to be decapitated, 2 of my sons, was number 1, the driver somehow knew or had heard, don't go toward the tires, go toward the space. And number 2, they both slid under. So I get a call from the principal, Mr. Rankin, and said there was a horrific accident, but your boys are okay. He came down from the farm, and when I saw that car, I didn't believe him that the boys were okay. But they were. They were in the nurse's office in the middle school, and they still were on an ambulance, and it was horrific.
They were shaken up a bit, I bet.
They, their mother,
Is that-
the whole town, and that's when the speed limit was lowered. Before that, it was 55 miles an hour.
It's amazing how something bad has to happen.
And yeah, and you know what the state said to me? They said, well, nobody died. And I said, oh, so you're waiting for students to die? Is that what you're doing?
Wow,
So that's how it got lowered to 35 miles an hour.
that would have been a terrible phone
So,
call. That was JJ, right? JJ, was he a passenger, I think?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
JJ, and who's the other one?
Chandler.
Chandler.
Chandler Justin, yes, yeah. So I'm very attached to that, emotionally attached to that little intersection. And I would like to see a lower speed, even lower than 50, well, or something there.
Caution light or flashing red.
Something.
Having a stoplight.
Well,
So more people,
Go through this.
Let's come to a consensus here. Let's say,
yes,
Could I just make a recommendation that the town board recommend to the planning board as a whole to revisit this one more time and see if there's a consensus. Let the planning board project that to the town board.
A consensus of,
Should this, what is the best proposed zoning class for this specific
For
site?
that specific
I
area.
think we have a plan, which is to switch it back to commercial, and then let you work on the recommendation of what you want to do with that area.
Yeah.
Let's send it to the planning board and let them chew it over.
Sure.
and see
Flip
what-
it back to commercial first, that gives, because that rights the wrong, and then let the planning board decide what they want to do.
That was
We're not just talking that area, we're talking the whole area. Does that sound reasonable to you, Carl?
Does sound reasonable to me.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing I would like to do, since we're having our working meeting, our regular meeting, our regular working meeting, whatever, doesn't matter, is that if the DOT does not have a plan for that light, then we push our state senator, because it's a state road, to put a light there, because that needs to be a slow area.
Yes.
If you come up to Meyer, you don't know that stop sign.
So let me make a phone call first. If it's in the plans already, we'll simply let it go. But we can also get in front of this and say, can we accelerate?
Right, because that's going to happen after the level bridge. Remember that?
Well,
It's
it
gonna
may-
be- It's going to be a couple of years before that bridge gets taken out.
That doesn't mean, though, you can't put the light in ahead of time.
That's what I'm saying, is you may want to accelerate the light.
I'm all in favor of that, because that needs to be a slow area.
Yes.
So we've done some good work here tonight. We've tried to fix one thing. We've got about 6 good things going on here. Thank you for coming in. You've been very productive, not only here, but you kind of like our juices flowing for this stuff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all.
Okay.
I don't know how you're going to do this all the time.
So, Melanie, we got your input. Anybody else want to go to the floor? Dennis? This is Dennis Osika. Hi, Dennis. Hi. Let me just do a little intro here. We all have our pull back from the brink. This is what he's talking about. I think it's
I just wanted to read this. I gave you a copy. In case,
Okay,
you need
okay.
to deliberate at another time.
okay.
For those that don't know me, I'm Dennis Osika, a 34-year resident of the town of Lansing, a former Cornell Grounds Director for 25 years, and a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. If you were to survey Lansing town residents regarding humanity's paramount survivability concerns, I believe that most informed adults would point to unchecked climate change and nuclear disaster. Unfortunately, every weapon ever devised by man has eventually been employed, and with increasing devastating results. I'm here today to request that our Lansing Town Board sign the resolution calling for the United States to, quote, pull back from the brink, end quote, and prevent nuclear war, which calls for our federal government leaders and our nation to embrace non-proliferation, the non-proliferation nuclear weapons treaty, and make nuclear disarmament the centerpiece of our national security policy. This same resolution was unanimously passed by the City of Ithaca's Common Council on October 3rd, 2018, copies of which I submitted to our town board for review and consideration a couple of weeks ago. As a young child, I vividly recall school survival drills where we all had to climb under our desks due to the threat of being bombed by Russia. While these defensive drills are no longer practiced, sadly, our world nuclear arms race is markedly accelerating, and the growing threat of worldwide nuclear devastation is actually much worse today. Worldwide, there are 15,000 nuclear weapons held by 9 countries, 85% of which are held by the United States and Russia. The rest are located in China, Great Britain, France, India, Pakistan, Israel, and now an unstable North Korea. Even a limited nuclear war between India and Pakistan would result in the immediate death of 20 million people and worldwide crop reduction of 40% for a period of 10 years, causing severe famine, especially for the world's most poor. Upon graduation from Cornell some 55 years ago, during the expanding war in Vietnam, to my surprise, subsequent to Army Combat Engineer training, I was ordered to report to both Officer Atomic Demolition Munition School and Airborne Paratrooper School. I was trained on detonating 3 tactical nuclear weapon systems, the smallest of which was only 30 pounds and designated to be carried on my back while jumping from a military airplane. The eventual likelihood of minimized nuclear weapons getting into the hands of terrorists and being detonated in major U.S. cities or our domestic nuclear power facilities scares the hell out of me. Since World War II, I'm aware that at least 3 documented near nuclear wars between the U.S. and Russia. One during the Cuban Missile Crisis, in which Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara stated, quote, "It was luck that prevented nuclear war." And 2 other crises occurring in the 1980s, including one in which, due to a glitch in Russia's radar system, 5 incoming nuclear warheads from the United States were detected by a senior Russian air defense officer who, thankfully, disobeyed his standing orders to immediately retaliate with Russian nuclear missiles. Fortunately for you, me, and our families, we may be alive today largely because of that Russian officer's heroic, insubordinate decision. In summary, the 5 primary goals of this timely resolution that I'm requesting that the Town Board of Lansing endorse include the following. Renouncing the option of using nuclear weapons first strike capacity. Ending the President's sole unchecked authority to launch a nuclear attack without approval by Congress. Taking United States nuclear weapons off hair trigger alert. Canceling the $1.7 trillion plan to replace our entire arsenal of nuclear weapons with enhanced weapons. And finally, actively pursuing a verifiable agreement among nuclear-armed states to eliminate their nuclear arsenal as established in the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Anyone else want to take advantage of food before? Now we'll move on. Number 9. The Lansing Community Library Report, which has been presented to the board, to our packet from Christine Eisenhuth. I use this as a segue though. Andrea, do you want to add anything? As far as the library goes?
No.
Okay. All right, move on to number 10, Lansing Youth Services.
I'll just add that lots of newer members of our community really raved about this program. I'm very proud of the programs myself.
Good. Number 11, Mike Sigler has his report there. Number 12, live from Lansing, we have Patrick Terrell. Anything to report?
Here.
Patrick's a little tired today, he was plowing snow.
Yeah. So, unless anyone has any questions,
I love
go to bed.
Did I ever tell you that I love people that got B licenses, you know, they're just so handy to have around.
They are, yes.
I will share this, as I was driving, trying to get on to 34B and had to turn around, because there's no room, because everybody else is all over the place, and it wasn't the highway's fault, it was just the perfect storm, literally, at rush hour. Literally.
Just for Lansing, by the way.
Yeah.
The village shouldn't get
Just
it.
Lansing.
No, we actually canceled our senior citizens meal today. But having said that, I did notice that there's 2 people in one of the trucks down Spirit Lane. I said, well, there are 2 people here. We have our trucks, we have everything else. And I think someone was going on their solo flight to plow snow for us, and one of Cricket's.
Maybe, there was a couple in training today.
Yeah, yeah. So like anything, you guys make lemonade out of lemons. I appreciate that.
There you go.
Okay, so.
Wait a second, you made it snow so you could do a training session?
I was not in one of the training sessions. I was by myself. But this was probably one of the worst storms that I've plowed in a long. I mean, we had trucks sideways of our own. I mean, it was bad.
It was slippery.
Yeah, I saw cars off.
I could barely drive straight down Warren.
Yeah, it was bad.
I think it took Maureen 45 minutes to get to work from.
It was not dry.
I'm simply saying, Dan, there's some things best not known. We'll just leave it at that, okay? There's certain powers you don't want to release, okay? So is what the rumor says. Having said that, other than that, I mean, you're doing double duty. We've had nothing but good reports to Andra's comments, youth service, youth programs, everybody's chugging along. Once again, we try to use as much between the library and the school and the town. We have a three-legged stool. We try to enhance that as programs. As I've said before, my goal is to get these kids from breakfast to supper, someplace safe, around positive role models, and go from there. And anyways, have a safe drive home.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you get to do it again tomorrow.
No. I'm hoping everyone shows up.
5 days.
There's another storm coming.
Yeah, 5 days into it. Yeah. I can't wait for the next budget month. Okay. Yeah. Our superintendent, Cricket has his. Let's see.
There's no report.
Well, he was going to be live, but he's not here. So let's move on to the next one. Yes, another. Exactly. Michael Long has put in his projects. One of the things we are working with Pat on is the grant money we got for that energy efficiency, that 5,000. We're trying to put that into maybe some lighting around the park, also around where we had the trunks and treats, or treats and trunks. They call them all different things.
Trunk or treat?
Well, I've seen it 4 different ways, so when I post it on Facebook, I want to make sure I got the right one for us. But anyways, because there wasn't enough lighting up there at the ball field, so when the pavilion starts to get built, we'll have that discussion also. But also the fact to try to get more lighting down in the park. So that's a consideration that Patrick and I have talked about.
What's happening with the site plan around the parking area and all that?
I was going to ask Michael that tonight because he's not here, so.
I guess we're not going to answer any questions.
No, but it is one of those things that the conversation is active. It wasn't like, whatever, no, the conversation is active and we're moving forward on it, so.
And if PCAT's still interested in paying for their bus stops and everything.
This is you now, okay?
And they said they've got the money to pay for.
This is you now, right? Okay, all right, okay.
I passed that on to all.
Thank you. I think actually that Mike, I don't know if you were at that they met about Warren Road recently, and I think Larry Boyne's going to pour the slab or he's going to either donate it or something.
That's the other one, yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't it required to put it there? I thought that was part of the site.
Well, when you're required, it's always nice to volunteer, isn't it? So
What's the
it's,
status on the
well, we have the money, the trusses are ordered, the materials are ordered.
If the weather
Yes.
works.
Yeah, well,
Well, there's the site plan too, which Mike was going to tell us about, except we can't.
Okay.
we do have a spot for the pavilion, that part. But the rest of it, yes, you're absolutely right. So if the weather cooperates, we may see some bulletin, but well, once again, the materials need to be ordered. We have the money, I think the trusses are in. Craig gave me a check that I gave out to the community council. So between the Baker family's generous donation and other donations, we have to do that. I was simply waiting, if Mother Nature doesn't cooperate, then we can go from there.
That's the CBD.
Yes, exactly. What else do we have here? We have David Eric has no report. No report.
I can tell you what happened to the agricultural committee. They basically went up, I was there, we went over, what do you call it? The Cornell University Law School did a matrix of various zoning throughout the county, what they allow in the agricultural districts. And the Ag Committee went over that matrix, trying to pick out what they prefer to happen in our new agricultural district. And so they went by and I should we have trailer parks, should we have hospital things, and work through that list.
So both of us were there, and I think what was nice was that they took it to all the different towns.
Yes.
And I like that, and then you can keep going if you want.
Yeah, that was amazing amount of work that the Cornell Law School did, and showing what everybody in the county did in their agriculture districts to kind of give you a flavor. It was a little bit confusing because some of them had similar things that were different than ours, so there was some overlap and stuff that caused some confusion. But, you know, overall, I think it gave us both the opportunity to look at what we allow in the ag district and to see what other people are doing, to see if there's some ideas that we're missing and things that we should allow or shouldn't be allowed. And I had to leave that earlier, unfortunately. I don't know if we made it through the entire list or not.
Once you left, everything went downhill. I don't know. They walked away, they said, well, I'll just go home. One of the things which is interesting as we peel through these things is that at least they got a consensus of different towns that they want this military. And once again, the general theater kept going is that density, it should be this, non-density should be that. And I think for them to be able to go between ag and RA and pry those two apart was a challenge, but they eventually got the rhythm where this is a new zone. This is allowed here, but not here, and do it that way. And I think that that theme that we had said over and over, no gentlemen, this needs to be, and ladies, this needs to be, this is here, not here now. So it's a different way of thinking as opposed to, as Lynn Davison calls the RA, reckless abandon. You know, this is a little bit different. This is now, there's certain parameters, and they're basically driven by density or lack thereof.
And there's the other variable, which is we can say you can't do this except farmers can't do it based on the right farm act. So there's that other variable that gets into all of this.
So, good.
I think so.
Let's move on then, budget discussion. First of all, my apologies, I misread my notes, which I'm a little embarrassed about that, but if I make it wrong, I try to make it right. The 8th I said was when we should close the public hearing about it, not when the budget came to pass. So the budget, to Joe's credit, he made me aware of that, went to my notes, and I said, you know what, he's absolutely right. So I called Guy and said, if we have to, can we rescind this and move it? And so we gave Joe and anybody else more discussion time. I liked your questions, those are good, like the crossing guard. I always like questions, I always like to share them with everybody, because sometimes we refresh our memories, sometimes it's the first thing information, like I said, a new set of eyes, and that's always good. So having said that, are you comfortable? I mean, we can either make a motion that you want to agree with this, do you not want to agree with this, do you want to have more discussion, what do you want to do?
I think we're fine just the way it is. We passed it, I'm okay with it.
Do you want to put can we put a note on it that if you want to say yes to this, so that you won't have a record that you said no because you said no because you didn't have enough time? And that wasn't fair to you. Is there a way we can either put a note on there that on further review, attorney, is there a, do we have to put it back out and put it back in?
Yeah, you can't change, you can note it for the record, but you can't change the prior vote. You could move
You're
to.
okay with that?
I'm okay with it the way it is.
Okay. All right. Next, number 18, resolution for public hearing local law number 5, amending local law number 8 of 2015 to adjust certain dog licensing terms and requirements.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Here we go.
Joe's second.
I totally can relate to the problems Debbie was having over this. It's a problem all over, not just here.
We have a first and a second.
I have Andra and Joe, and that's it, correct?
Yes.
Any further
Was it
discussion?
right or not?
Yes.
Right.
it was correct.
Okay.
You have no further discussion?
Andrew Benson? Yes. Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Dave?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Item number 19, resolution approving hiring REL Enterprises of Dryden, Inc. for the town of Lansing 2019 consideration.
I'll second it.
I said I couldn't hear.
Well, can I back up?
Oh, you said it, Doug?
Can I back up for a minute, please? No. We have to schedule a public hearing for local law number 5, right?
That's.
Is that item number 18?
Yeah, that was to schedule the public hearing.
So we need to officially schedule the public hearing.
We did, that's what,
That's item 18. So we need to schedule the public hearing.
Right, the resolution
the
says.
resolution
Well, we didn't set a
is,
time.
it's going to be on December 5th at 6:30 p.m.
6:31 p.m. It's
Yeah.
in the resolution.
It's in the resolution.
I want to make sure that the public hears this also.
Okay, that's fine.
And just to be be sure that everyone realizes that public hearing will be at the Lansing Village office, which is not where we usually have our public hearings, so, but that's where that meeting is scheduled.
Oh,
That is the.
Just to confuse things.
I don't think there's going to be a huge number of people coming to speak on this.
I'm not saying there will be, it's just,
Would you rather move it to the following meeting so we can hear?
no, I've got this on now.
That's
Right.
fine. You voted for it.
We're all good to that point out the time.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so now resolution number 19, approving hiring of REL Enterprise of Dryden Inc. For Town of Lansing 2019 dog foundation.
So moved it, Joe second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Munson?
Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Item 20, resolution approving and authorizing comptroller's application for permission to form CWD extension number 3.
This is the 180-page thing that it's already got sent out.
Well, there'll be a couple more pages because this resolution has to be certified and submitted as well. But yeah, that's,
Which is basically every piece of paper we touched in the last year or two
well,
on this.
plus data, fiscal, financial, and census analysis.
Does anyone actually read that?
Actually, they do.
Okay, they do read through everyone?
Well, different departments do.
Oh, I see, so it goes to this department.
One person does legal, well, it goes to
Okay.
legal compliance, then it goes to fiscal, then it goes to final review.
I was impressed with the small book that you passed out and go ahead and read through.
I'll wait for the movie.
I think you experienced most of the chapters already.
I did, as the stomach churns. Yes, yes, yes. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Yes, okay.
I'll move the resolution. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Is this something that we have a copy we can sign tonight? Is this one we all have to sign a copy
No,
of?
I don't think so.
No, well, what has to happen is I brought a hard copy in case anyone wanted to see a hard copy, but I'll need 3 certified copies of the resolution.
Of this?
Yep.
Okay.
This is something Debbie does, not.
Right, Deb will certify 3 copies, they will then be inserted in the place of the blank one. Then I'll have 3 full versions put together, and Ed will sign 2 of them, or 3 of them. And they will go to the state comptroller, and we always make a 3rd, because if it goes to bonding, bond counsel's gonna want everything in original too, so rather than reinvent the wheel twice, do it once and have it ready to go. I've made good friends up in Rochester by doing that.
So the normal wait period is what, 6 months?
About 6 months. Some of them, some like Consolidated Water District 5 is gonna be much quicker than that because it's small, it has 100% support. There's so much logic to making that connection, and the fiscal impacts are absurd. They're not, it's not in an ag district, it's 100% supported by the residences. They're all single-family dwellings with 1 unit, so there's not one person who's got 6 units that's carrying the weight. So that one will go, I think, pretty fast. It's already made it through the first, it's in the 2nd stage of review. This one, I think, because there was an election, I think you're probably looking at 5 to 6 months because that'll take a longer review on compliance.
So I know the department that gets it.
Well, it goes to legal, and then it goes to fiscal, and then it goes to final review. There's 3 stages of review over there. So legal, we've never had a problem clearing legal. Fiscal, it depends on the impact analysis, but as long as there's support for it, it's usually approved. This one, I think you're over the threshold, you're in an ag district and you had a close vote, they're probably going to be a little more careful ticking off the numbers on this one, but that's what they're supposed to do, so I don't necessarily understand how someone in Albany determines the need for a resident on Conlon Road to have water, but that's the law, and we're not going to change it in here.
Okay, shall we move on? Number 21?
I need to call the vote.
Yeah, we didn't vote.
Yeah, we didn't call.
Can we have a roll call?
Andrew Benson? Yes. Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes, sorry to slow down the momentum here. Item 21, resolution establishing 2019 water rates for the town of Lansing.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
How do these rates get calculated out? Did we Are these recommended to us, did we calculate based on?
These are recommended by the Board and Supervisory Board. One thing that we do is that Bolton Point raise their rates. Basically, they raise their rates 20 cents a 1,000 gallons, which is $1 for every 5,000 gallons, which is the minimum, okay? And as we talked about before, approximately 11,000 out of the 19,000 people that, when they went from the 10,000 minimum to the 5,000 minimum gallon, they actually saved money. The thought of the Bolton Point Commission was that they need to bump it up now because when they decrease it from 10 to 5, you find out that our revenue dropped because the big ones are cutting back or doing something because they pay more.
Yeah.
And they only had 9 months of data, so they want to get in front of this so that we don't have what we had, and I'm sure if you remember, the 28% rate increase at one time from Bolton Point, and that stings. So what Deb did is she went, because whatever their rates are, we pass them on, and then she's also looking at O&M, and she's looking at other stuff. So we went through some analysis here, and we nudged, to use Katrina's phrase, we nudged it up a bit as far as that goes. Not much.
The residents that stick to the 5,000 minimum gallon usage in a quarter, their bill will go up $1.20 or $1.25 a quarter.
But it's still under what it would have been at 10,000.
Right.
Well, keep in mind, if you were paying 10,000 gallons, but you're only using 5, you're basically saving $22 a quarter. That's $88 a year. So I'm not being smug when I say this because I don't like any rate increases, but when you went from 88 down and you went $1 whatever up.
$1 to $1. They have been paying for the last year the minimum, the 5,000 minimum usage. Residents have been paying $28.25, and if this passes, they will now be paying $29.50 a quarter for the water.
But it's good to have background information on that. That, and we go through this methodically. We went to the Water Supervisory Board, and what we advised. We talked to Dave Herrick about this, amongst other things, because those are things from an engineering standpoint, our system older. That's where really your O&M comes in. But all of a sudden, Cricket and Michael had to go out on a bridge and fix that at 8 o'clock at night on Sunday night. That money comes.
Before we hire somebody to do it.
Well, they actually do it.
I think we hired somebody to do it. Says that. Somebody doing some maintenance, that's all.
Might have been a different, not the water lines. That's
Okay.
part of their crew. So anyways, to circle back here, we are where we are. So does that answer your question as far as whether race increase? Do we have any more discussion? Mrs. Munson?
Okay, Andrew Benson? Yes. Katrina Binkowitz? Yes. Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes. Edward Levine?
To approve audit and budget modifications. Anything we have concerns about?
I'll make that motion.
Got a second? Okay, Joe's second. Any further discussion? Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson? Yes. Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore? Yes. Edward Levine?
Yes. Board member reports. Andre, you want to lead off?
I already made my comments on the library and services.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Joe?
PCOT, they're setting up grants for 2019. There's going to be a municipal housing authority program grant and a town parks and trail grant. They're working together grant guidelines right now, but basically these are going to be $5,000 grants in each of these categories for the town to use. One for the housing authority is going to be a matching grant, which we have to match, I think, 20% of it. The trails one does not have a matching component. It's a $5,000 grant to upgrade trails or parks and amenities. And I'm thinking that this would be an excellent way to create a dog park as part of our town center. This is something that we could really use. It's kind of like a carrot and stick thing. We have a problem with our trails in which people let their dogs run off leash because there's no place in town for people to run off leash. We We've got some land that's already being used recreationally. And this would be a way to pay for fencing and providing water for it. If you look at the one in Ithaca, it's hugely popular. It's one of the most popular parks in the town.
This is not the first time it's been.
I'm aware of that, but this time there's money to pay for it.
And somebody who wants to lead the charge.
I look forward to that. I look forward to the positive results, Joe, as you are at the point of the spear on this.
I understand dogs are a controversial thing in many ways.
Well, I personally, it's, and we'll talk about this later, so, yes, thank you.
This is for 2019, so this is just.
I see a lot of positives here, let me just say that,
Yeah.
okay?
I just hope that Mrs. Munson has a record that Joe said.
I know why you were laughing, because
There's no place in town for people to run off leash.
There's places where they do, but it's problematic.
No, people run off leash. See, now I'm not the only one who also welcome to my road trip.
Yeah, got it.
So that was the big thing at TCOG. The Cuba Lake Watershed Organization hired Jennifer Practice to catalog water quality related projects undertaken by municipalities and the soil and water districts throughout the watershed. They're also starting their local waterfront revitalization programs. The state grant they got to kind of rework the IO to figure out how to redesign it to be more effective as an organization. The Ithaca Transportation Council is updating its long-range transportation plan. This is a 20-year plan through 2040, and they started with a public meeting on November 7th. We talked about the library, and they'll be holding other sessions to talk about what the total long-term transportation plans are for the community. Planning board in previewing their preview meeting, previewing the zoning map, and still working on some of the kinks up in the ag areas where they think about the new ag district versus the old. I talked about the agricultural committee already, and I'm hoping to get a draft of the conservation advisory council soon.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Thank you. I look forward to the environmental data that comes in. I'm very concerned about safety, very concerned about this stuff about it.
I've got nothing.
No, actually.
No, actually, I've been very, very, very busy, and I just don't have time to do it. And I've been away, so I wasn't in.
Yes, you've been around the world.
No, not quite, but very enjoyable.
Katrina?
The Friends of Salt Point had an awesome speaker last night here in the room. About 120, I think the count was.
It was full,
Every chair was used.
more than we're here.
More than we're here, yes. We had lots of extra chairs, and Kevin McGowan gave a great talk on crows, the social, family aspects of crows, the mythology about crows.
And afterwards, Salt Point Brewery was okay?
Yes, and then they kept Salt Point Brewery open a little bit, and
Record night, probably.
about 20, 25 people went there
Nice.
after, so it was this lovely evening.
Excellent. Guy, thank you for all your hard work on all these things we're doing with the closing of the plant across the street. Now comes the part to get the word out that people will have this 585 number to call. Obviously, disabled veterans are the first consideration, but it's also anyone that can qualify is considered, and to leave their number, and they'll start sending back the applications.
I would like it to be posted, the information posted.
As fast as I can.
And also at churches, maybe?
Well, we're doing that now. The part of the process on the website, whatever, to get the word out.
And our spring newsletter.
We're going to work on that, and I'm hoping to. Why not? Actually, I want to do one in December, so.
All right.
I'm pushing hard.
Catching every pitch, you should just keep throwing.
So if somebody wants to make some positive comments about what we're doing, I'll leave up to the board themselves if they want to make a contribution. Limit of 5 pages. No, I'll kidding aside. One of the things they will do for Milton Meadows is they are going to meet at our town hall until the trailer is set up. So if you see people over here coming into our
Oh,
building,
okay.
they're gonna meet in the back. When they do their contractors meetings, I think they're gonna start in December, as far as that goes. I'm for that, but they didn't put quite
You
a lot.
mean they want a road before a trailer?
That's up to them. As far as that goes. I hope that their pins are in the right spot, like to say. What else? Couple of things. DOT contacted me, they're considering Salmon Creek. They're also considering Buck Road speed reductions.
What does that mean?
That means they're considering, and they'll get back to
They're
me with
chewing
their
it.
decisions.
I haven't experienced this, so what's the other thing you hear back? You hear back?
You don't, you wait like a whale, you wait for it to surface.
Okay.
And what you wait for, they'll you say, like with Atwater Road, thank you Supervisor Levine, much appreciated, but your request has been denied.
So this is actually different from what you normally hear when you just deny it out.
Well, it's part of the process. So once again, that means that they've acknowledged it, they've seen it, and the process.
Denny sent around the letters for those a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, wait.
I mean, I submitted one or two, I think, I want to, off the top of my head, maybe November timeframe last year, that I got that nice letter back saying, thank you for your letter, we'll look into it, and we haven't heard anything, final determination on it, so it appears to me that they're quite slow in making a decision. It's just my opinion.
So nobody's acting.
There you go.
So we also talked about Debbie Munson. We hired a new person, met her today. She seems to be very sharp. I think there is a tremendous potential there. So we'll see as we evolve, see where it goes. So far, so good. What else? Water and sewer. Water number 4. We'll finish up Drake Road numbers and everything and see where we pan out on that. Number 4, number 3 we've discussed. Number 6, Bill George, people have come to us, and they've signed their petition, and 14 out of 15 have said yes to that one, only because the 15th one is in Florida. And so Dave Herrick has 2 different map plan reports he's going to do now. We'll see if the numbers change or not. It's very similar to as District Number 3, Buck Road, expanded, and the people said, we'll wait and see what the numbers are. So these things take on life, so that's where we are with Dave Herrick. Sewer is, we met with the Big 6 on that, and they do that every Big 6 being with Town Lansing, Dryden, Ithaca, Village, Village, Lansing, Town Lansing. Concerned about their 2 different sewer concerns, and we can talk about everything we want, all comes back to I&I. That is not going to help.
That's the customer who doesn't pay.
That's right. Well, yes, that keeps on taking, exactly. So having said that, we move on to the other sewer, which is the meters, and it's interesting now that they do lasers. You'll enjoy this conversation, but you like to talk about the product. And that they now have where they measure by flow, whatever, they do a meter with line. And so we're actually looking into that discussion. And a lot of that has come up because of sewer district number 1 is being implemented, we're going to use those there. So we seem to have all moved together in the same. We're also working on the new sewer agreement, the amended one, that will go down from 324 gallons per EU or something like that. My notes are going down to 200. So it's more capacity for the Warren Road Sewer District, which is being built out. Okay. One more thing, good news, and I want to make sure that we talk about our sales tax. I had to check these figures. Our sales tax, we had another excellent month. We're going to ride that pony for as long as we can to see where it ends up at the end of the year. But mortgage tax, we normally last year we budgeted $200,000, came in a little more than that. This year's $250,000. The second number came in and it was actually $539,000. So that means that's a difference of $289,000 that came in over what we budgeted for a revenue stream. I would strongly urge the board not to do anything with this right now. We'll see where our winter ends up, but these are another things on top of, installing the land on top of. So that might be a blessing for us to take some of that sting off. The other thing is that we always underestimate our revenue stream so we can go ahead and part of our budget. But as we keep moving forward, the ZBB zero-based budget will go from there. Having said that, nothing else on my end, so we move to.
Well, I have one question. We had somebody come forward with a proposal that we talked about nuclear weapons and take a stand I know people think the town shouldn't take stands on these issues that we have no control over, but I also think it has an effect when communities say to the higher officials, this matters to us. And I think this is an important issue that affects us all. And I would be in favor of moving something similar to what the city did.
Personal opinion is that I've learned to think about these things, and my first initial reaction is, why are we doing this? But on the other hand, out of respect for that individual, he had a concern. And I want to address his concern. Which means we would need to put something together, this is my personal opinion, put something together to acknowledge this. We grew up with the bunker down, and now where is it, Andre? Is it in the middle school now, the bunker is? And it wasn't, if I knew it was duck and cover, if I knew now what was that, I can stand up and smile, because that's not going to help you. That is, this is brutal. What we do here, granted, it's not going to tip the scale in the grand scheme of things, maybe, but what I want to do for Mr. Osika is to show him that his concerns are important. Just like everybody else's concerns are important. We did that with the flag, we did it with our stuff, and to include him in. And to brush him off, I think, would be disrespectful. So to put something together like that, whether we do it at our own level, we don't have to, it doesn't have to be template from the county. It be something along those lines that we're concerned about that stuff. I'm very concerned about that stuff, because as I tell people, it's like two people arguing, and the one who wins the nuclear war, they stand up and say, I won, because winning's everything, and they come out of the bunker and they go, oh my God, what did I do?
I also agree with Joe, and I like the idea that you have a resolution and then send it to Tom Ray, Kristen Joe, and Charles Schumer, President Trump. I think someone will actually look at that stuff.
I have no problem. My personal opinion, I have no problem with that. I really don't. I mean, if that is a concern about them, and we need to be respectful and address it and move forward with this. This is not a debate for me to have. I'm very sensitized to that. But I want to give the board some of the floor, give them time to think about it, and get more input on that also from the board members.
How do we move forward?
We move forward by saying, okay, at our next meeting, we'll discuss it, and then we'll put a resolution together, and we'll pass it at if we have a consensus, if we have a comfort level.
So we'll put it on the next agenda for the next meeting.
I agree.
Okay, that's great.
By the way, I've already told Mr. Osika that I was, not that we were doing this, but that I take his concerns seriously, and I think we should take everyone's concerns.
On that same note, then, why we forgot about Mary and George's concerns about status quo for the part on Bubbleville and
all right, so let me,
Gus Isaac.
thank you, I forgot that part. One of the things that's been considered is to name the road from Milton Meadows to Isaac Way or Isaac something.
I thought we were.
Is that something we need to do as a resolution? Perhaps we can do that at our next.
I don't know why we would name that.
Or
the part of the road better.
And I'm open-minded to all this stuff. To me, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. He talked to me after the fact. It happened on each other at a lake watch.
What was the Marion?
I like the park idea.
Mary and George brought up in privilege of the floor several weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Maybe you weren't here.
Stanley Stoshberg, who fought in the Korean War, was a prisoner of war, grew up in Mulberville. And he wanted to make sure he get remembered somehow. He thought having something done at the Mulberville Park was appropriate.
Yeah.
And then also brought up Gus Isaac, certainly local veteran, and went through that and thought about making something down at the park.
We were hoping that we would get the grant information done by now, because that was nice that we to name it a million after them, or whatever. But if you want to do something now,
I'm just pulling it back out of the.
Let's reach out to them and see whether the park's more interested in the road.
Yeah.
A park for Gus Isaac's more interested in the
Right.
road. I mean, if we name it, we could, I don't know.
I think Gus would be tickled either way.
But I'd like to do it soon because for Gus anyway.
I'm with you there. I just, if we got some possibilities, let's reach out to
Let's
the
say what
family.
we're doing in December.
let's discuss this in December, decide it, and act on it in a second meeting.
Can someone reach out to the family and kind of get a poll of which direction would be?
Well, Gus is very humble, so it's
Gus will tell you.
I'll talk to Judy.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to get a balance, because
We should do it for both. Okay, so we have that agreement, and we'll work on that. Oh, one more thing, thank you. I talked to Mike Saber about Kyle Lake, about the,
Yeah.
he's working on that.
Proposal.
Well, CFCU owns it, or owns it for a year. So if that's the case, he's reaching out to CFCU to see if we can do something up there, like we